Today we have the pleasure of welcoming Chris Caravalho, the founder of Mana Comics and Kānaka ʻŌiwi creator of many comic books, including ʻAumākua, Guardians of Hawaiʻi, Sistah Shark, Anuenue Warriors, Mana Legends, Kamehameha and Pele. He worked with the Hawaii State Library System to teach participants grades 6 through 12 how to create a superhero. Chris Caravalho shares the inspiration for Mana Comics, the process of creating Kānaka ʻŌiwi and local superheroes, the importance of representation in this genre, and the changing attitudes toward comics. Join us in a space for creativity. Welcome to the Reading Room.
Now you got an authentic take of what life is like, which I try to infuse in the books, like ʻAumākua. He got ʻAumākua. It's like you're not going to get a watered down version. You're going to get an authentic feel to it of what life is like.
I love how you talk about that authentic feel, and I'm wondering, what was the inspiration for Mana Comics? And because I know you have Kānaka ʻŌiwi characters, even local characters. So what inspired you for that?
And that's going to go back to when we talk about it, that journey. It was, I think, ultimately it was a longing to want to see it, to want to see. By being a fan of comic books, being raised on the cartoons and stuff, eventually you're just like, wait a second, where's the Hawaiian guy, where's the Portuguese guy, and it's like I would love to see that. And granted, back then, the big guns, Marvel, DC, they didn't really have an option like that. They've made great strides as far as getting diverse and inclusion kind of characters, but I really wanted to see a take of what it looks like here. And like I said, I'm not the only one, so I cannot take credit. Like, yeah, I'm the one that created, but I contributed for sure, with the characters when I wanted to keep it true. I didn't want to keep it, like, if I tell people, like, if I ever get to a point where I have to water it down, it's gonna lose its voice of what it is, and you had like, who did you have? McKinney, that guy who wrote
Chris
Tattoo.
McKinney, yeah.
Talk about like a behind the curtain look that you don't normally see, because Hawaii is normally used as a backdrop in movies, television, or but it's really that kind of authenticity that and raw. That thing was raw, but it was real, right? You got a little taste of what's behind the the tourist version of Hawaii. You get to look behind the scenes, and I think ʻAumākua and the books I write, I don't shy away from it. Despite some pushback, I get some pushback from people that say, "Hey, why do you do this?" But it's because I want to keep it true to what island culture is. And in the end, that's always been my goal. But I do have recognition, like maybe not everyone's going to understand. And that's why I mentioned with the pigeon to the English translation in the back, so they can catch some of these things. But I don't want it ever to be a point where I have to shy away from showing the real, real Hawaii.
And I like how you talk about the real Hawaii. And
yeah.
I know you have a background as a police officer,
Sure.
yeah? So how does that influence, I know there's that fight for justice. Yeah?
Yes.
Was that part of that reasoning for having these superheroes?
First of all, I always had a thing. I just don't like bullies. That's don't like it. And anybody who has whether it's in a position of power, just being able to overpower someone, I don't like it. And being an officer definitely influenced how I write. I mean, I was told by one of my field training officers, this is going to change you, Chris. One of my first few weeks on that, it's going to change you. And he was right. And it's not always in the most positive ways. A lot of times, because you're seeing a lot of negative. You're seeing people at their worst, and they're not calling you because they want to talk story and have a good time. People are in a crisis, and that kind of exposure definitely washes into your thinking, and it can lead you into being jaded and maybe look at the world in a different way. But I think what experience has taught me, within that 25 years of of law enforcement is realizing that the world is imperfect, but people are complex. There's people, that are good, that do bad things, make bad choices. There are people that are considered bad that I've seen done, random acts of kindness, which you wouldn't even think, but they do. So I think I try to infuse that learning and experiences within my characters because it just makes it more interesting. They're not cookie cutter stuff that you'll see, like a mask and a cape and a villain who wants to dominate the world. You got heroes with flaws because people are imperfect. You got villains who that they think they're doing the right thing, and a lot of times they're not just out for conquest, but what is their real motivations? And I try to reflect that in the characters because it makes them more relatable.
Oh, I love that.
So
yeah.
yeah, definitely, definitely law enforcement. It changed my views, but I think I can also say that, yeah, you can't just categorize things. There's a lot of, not black and white. There's a lot of gray.
So true.
There's a
so
lot
true.
of gray in life, and but it makes the characters that much more interesting and believable, right? Instead of saying this over here and this over here. There's good and bad in everybody.
Wow, it's so true. And also, like, so you have all of these great stories. And how do you, like, I know, like, how do you go from that wonderful story and to actual, like, having your comic book? Like, I know there's a lot of technical aspects that go into that.
Ooh, yeah, gosh. If you're actually talking about the steps of creation, the concept of the character is where I start. It's basically what I want to talk about, or what do I want to see, and this stems from, and back again, from childhood. I wanted to see local characters. Recently I've been doing it since 2014. I started with ʻAumākua, and gosh, it was honestly just going to be like I said, a bucket list check mark of my life. I didn't consider it would go anything further. So what I was doing at that time was just, when I wrote that for the first time, I was like, I'm just going to go all in, have fun, and just do it, right? And that's what I did. I just had fun and did it, not thinking anything else, like that reading is actually, it has power because it influences and it makes people think. It sparks interest in things. I didn't think like that. And so when I actually had that comic, and it was interesting when somebody came to my table at one event. He goes, he picked up ʻAumākua #1. He says, he was kind of big brother. He says, I really like the message in this book. And I'm thinking, oh my God, there was a message in the book. I mean, if you see at the slapstick that's inside the book, you'll get what I mean by that. There's some risky, irreverent, juvenile type actions that are happening, but he was able to sift through and find the message. The message he found was, I have a character called Royal Hawaiian Guard, and he is like the kumu of the group, the teacher, yeah. Kapuna style, right? So he's in charge of these other superheroes of all these different races, and he's got one guy named Mighty Moke, who's a punchy guy from the West Side. He's got some attitude, and he's young. I mean, that's how it's supposed to be. He's not perfect, but he keeps getting into a Royal Hawaiian Guard's face, and he basically he's like the Hawaiian Superman. If you can think of Mighty Moke, he's like the Hawaiian Superman. He strips Mighty Moke of his powers. He has that power to just strip from his mana. So he's powerless. And he says, "Hey, no, act up." And he goes, I liked how the Kumu took charge and the Mighty Moke respected him for it. And that's the culture, is that respect for the Kapuna and the Kumu, right? It's you only get that here. But he was able to sift through everything. And that's what I realized, holy crap, in the process, I really got to think, maybe morals and stuff, I got to really consider that and push that forward. Because not only he caught that, but like, Keiki of all ages are catching and reading the book. But I didn't think like that first issue. But the process itself starts with building a character and believable characters. And the recent one was Aquaman. Aquaman was that latest one, and I wanted a character that definitely reflected the fun part of the island culture. I was raised on the irreverence of island humor, and I love the banter of that, right? So now I'm infusing that, and okay, that's where I start. Okay, start with a character that's fun, likable, believable. Okay, I brought it from the West Side. Okay, let's get a little play. I think I was thinking of Brother Jay Momoa when I was doing the Aquaman series comic, and I was like, yeah, someone likable from the West Side, let's call him Joe Coca-Cola, a trash man, work hard, and that's what I envision. So step one to the process, developing that thinking of that character. What are they like? And start to add things to that character to make them more relatable and believable. It's like, oh, that sounds like my uncle. When you get to that point of your character where people are understanding it, then you've succeeded. So step one is building that character. So what I did was, like everything else, I do a sketch. I do a sketch of the character first, add what I think, I need to, and then I move on to what is called character study, which basically character study is like turnarounds of the character, like Aquaman in its full garb now that, I've already determined what the look is. So, but now I want something to either inspire me or to help the artist so he can see what angles to do for that specific character. From that point, I got to do the script. Script writing is a little different than just writing a book. Script writing requires your thoughts to your team. I could pat my back and say, I do everything myself. Mana Comics is, all my doing, but that's not true. I've worked with such talented artists, colorists, and letterers, not a S, letterers. And everybody's got their own, their own little thing that they're concentrating on. Me as the comic book creator and the writer, I've got to kind of keep monitoring what everybody do when I have to communicate. And that's a big part of the step is communicating these ideas. So now I got my character, I got my script with not just words, there's panel descriptions to help the artist, to help the letterer, so they know what the heck's going on. You need that, Like if you're writing a book, you're got to be the guy that adds all that information within the book to describe. But the artist is also telling a story, not just me. The letterer is also telling a story by setting up the different words, the captions, the action boxes. So now you got the script being delivered to the artist. The artist is over here. He's doing if he's going old school, it's pencil. If he's going digital, then it's like a digital form. So you'll see a picture of like Aquaman, like my character. I have him introducing the Aquamobile to his sidekick, which is Aku Dog. He's a shape-shifting pit bull. And these are just, like I said, I wanted it zany and excitable. And so I chose these characters for this particular book. So what's the step after that is when that's pow and I'm going, yep, looks great. It shifts over to the colorist. So then you'll see like, next level digital stuff. Like growing up, we never had that digital kind of action. Different was different. I was coloring all my stuff. When I was making my homemade comics, I was coloring it all in. I was penciling. I did everything, words all myself. People still do that, but I find having a team is phenomenal, especially when you're surrounding with like-minded people. And so from that colorist, last stop is the letterer, and he's doing the caption boxes. He's doing the special effects, noises that are, in that, within the panels. So, I brought examples of that for your team, but it really shows like the process in that way, and it's a challenge. It's being able to pay attention and just to make sure you, as a creator and a writer, to make the words count, because a little bit Portuguese, you can see, but it's when you're too much wordy, then it starts to cover the art. So I have to be mindful, and on the process, it's always evolving. Like I'm like, if it hits to the letter, I'm like, whoa, where's the art, man? I have to know to scale back. So it's definitely a balance, and it's just keeping aware. So all this behind the scenes stuff, I think it goes unnoticed. Like people just get the comic book and not realizing, all the steps involved.
Yeah. Gosh. Thank you so much for showing all of the steps, and now I'm really intrigued. Like, could you read some of your work? That would be amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to hear you read.
Yeah. So I'm going to read from the Aquaman book, first page, and because you don't want to give too much away. You've got 28 pages, or depending on what your book says, 28 to 50. But like I said, you have to make the words count when you're writing it, and you have to, like, every panel you have to consider to make it a page turner. And people like who write books, like the chapters, to keep it going, you want the audience to keep the reader to be like, okay, I'm excited, let me do it. So what I wanted to show is too, like, I have to communicate with my team, and communicating with my team means I have to give panel descriptions. So how I'll read it to you is say I'll give it like a panel description of what's happening in the scene, and then I'll move to the caption box. There's no back and forth banter in this, but there's caption boxes while you get to get into the mind of Joe Keikoa while he's sharing the story as his journey as Aquaman. So it's called Aquaman #1, All Jam Up. And page 1 starts with a 6-year-old boy. This is the panel description. He stands in a heroic pose with a big, happy expression. He wears a cooking pot on his head like a helmet and a red towel around his neck as a cape, held in place with a clothespin. He's dressed tight in tidy whities, oversized yellow dishwashing gloves, and some rubber boots. And then caption 1, ever since Hanabata days, I wanted to be one superhero. Caption 2, my ohana and the neighbors thought I was nuts, but I never cared. I would wrap one towel around my neck and dream about my first job as one superhero. And then we move to panel 2 with the description of a dark alley in the front, a group of tough-looking thugs creeping around like they're hunting for somebody. In the background, you see like one small auntie standing alone. She has her hair in a bun. She's wearing a mu'u. She has a cane and a purse, and they're kind of like little predators, right? And for that caption and for that panel it says, maybe I saved one auntie who took a wrong turn down a dark alley in Chinatown. Panel 3 would be a business district setting in the foreground. 3 young local men wearing ski masks are running straight around toward the reader. You have to even include that so that they know how the setup is. Each one is holding a weapon and carrying a bag full of cash. Behind them reads a bank. For that caption, the kind, like when bank robbery. Yes, a couple scrubs sweating in ski masks and trying to dig out with bags of cash. You see, I have to make the words hit, and I have to make sure that the artist is on board, And so that would be that. Panel 4, a retro-looking killer robot is rampaging through Honolulu, smashing buildings. The robot has a glass dome around him, and within you can see like one crazy mad scientist. The caption would read, "Brah, or even like one mad scientist driving around in the head of a killer robot. Yeah, that would be mean." Panel 5, and it says, the high above the earth, a giant glowing green asteroid is flying through space headed straight for the Hawaiian Islands. The caption for that is, or the kind, like one cosmic being who would flick his radioactive booger towards the islands. And that's a whole other scene right there. Panel 6 is a close-up on Aquaman's face, eyes wide with shock as he's staring at something terrible in front of him. Of course, you don't see what we're looking at because this is the page turner that I was talking about. This is the last setup to see what's coming next. And then for that caption, it's like, but even in my wildest dreams, I never thought that my first job as a superhero, I would be ... And that's to get you to turn. At that point, though, you have this little box, word balloon with his sidekick, Aqua Dog, saying, holy poop-filled monopool, Aquaman. Kind of throwback to like the old school Batman Robin show, that kind of a feel. But now the reader's intrigued. They want to know a little bit more. So then they're flipping the page. And I only want to read the first one because the giveaway is kind of mean for the second page. But that's the comic. That's the comic version of how it's set up. Wow. This is how it's laid out.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I can see it,
Right.
And, I know that you're going to do a chapter book from that, yeah?
Yes, I've never tried this before, and I wanted to because now I get to be a little bit more, putting a little bit more meat on the bone. I can, flex my porgy muscle that I have. And so, yes, I decided I'm going to make a chapter book, and I'm going to gear it to like a Goosebumps style chapter book. So I'm going to give you a little taste of what the chapter 1's not very long, but it really proves the point, and it's mirrors, and you can see the comparison. It mirrors the Aquaman story. It's the same story, but now we got meat to the bone. So same thing, Aquaman, Hamajang, all jam up. Chapter 1, Superhero Kind Dreams. My name is Joseph Keikoa, and ever since Hanabata days, I wanted to be a superhero. Not a firefighter, not a police officer, not one doctor like my dad always nagged me to be. A real superhero, the kind who fights bad guys, saves the world, and is decked out in one killer costume, cape flapping like the Hawaiian flag in the wind. Superheroes were real after all. The mainland, they get choked. I mean, over there, you can't even throw one pohaku without smacking somebody wearing a mask and a cape, rocking their bebedes on the outside of their tights. Hawaii, not so much. Sure had a few on Oahu here and there, mostly townside, but other than that, pretty much dried squid. But as my tutu used to tell me, Joey, back in the day, we used to have the bestest superheroes in the world, the ʻAumākua, the Guardians of Hawaii. I remember asking, what happened to them? She paused, her voice filled with kaumaha. No one really knows. Just one day, in our greatest moment of need, they all went disappear and never came back. From that moment on, I knew my destiny. I was going to be the greatest superhero Hawaii had ever seen. I imagined a beam of light piercing the night sky, my hero insignia shining like a beacon of hope for all the islanders. The moment it appeared, I'd spring into action, battling bad guys, saving the day, and striking one mean, kind superhero pose. Yee, doggy. But superheroes didn't exist where I lived. Never had them in Nanakuli, Oahu, where I had lived all my life, ever. I mean, at least that's what my dad told me. One night while my dad was watching Let's Go Fishing on TV, I brought up my plan of being the first West Side superhero. During a commercial, of course, because I learned fast from being before not to him throat when the host Uncle Harry Kojima was janking up on fat ahi. Boy, my dad laughed hysterically. No superhero would ever come to the west side of the island. It's never going to happen. But that didn't stop 6-year-old me from dreaming or even dressing the part. My first official suit was cherry, at least in my own mind. One dented cooking pot for a helmet, a towel clipped around my neck, yellow dishwashing gloves, skid-free bebedes, and my dad's oversized rubber boots that made every step a wobbly disaster. Joseph Kamakaviva Ole Kekoa III, you better take those boots off when you stay running around or you're going to crack open your coconut, my mom would yell. I never listened. Superheroes didn't worry about falling. Superheroes were fearless. Plus, what was for the pot for, right? Thus the den. I mean, I may have been 40 pounds soaking wet and built like a scarecrow from Balloon Farms, but I knew one day I'd be a major superhero, fighting for truth and justice, and all that kind of good stuff. And when you know it, that day finally came. But even in my wildest childhood dreams, stopping bank robberies, fighting giant robots, saving the planet from certain doom, I never imagined, not in a million years, not even uku billion years, that my first superhero mission would be so horrific, so grotesque, so stomach churning, so utterly pilau. And on that day, this one I had fantasized my whole life, that exact moment I found myself face to face with unspeakable evil, only one thought crossed my mind. Maybe I should have just been one doctor.
Oh, oh, I love it.
Page Turner again. This is going to be something that I'm excited about. Shifting gears after 10 years of making comics, I'm going to approach it in this chapter before. So I'm excited. As you can see, I don't shy away from stuff that, that shows the island culture, that shows about the stuff that we were raised on.
Oh,
I know Let's Go Fishing when I'm talking about that. So these are not, things, I'm okay with being in a niche. Maybe some guy from the mainland wouldn't know, but hey, maybe they can learn about it.
Yeah.
And that's all about. It's about like, if you're not too sure about something, hey, Google it or find out about it. And I hope I spark the interest when it comes to, not shying away from talking about, island style stuff.
Oh, I love it. Oh my goodness. I love it. And I love the language. You have the pidgin and then you have the Olelo Hawaii.
You shift. It's a shift. And I love doing that with the characters. I loved making it, like I said, that authentic feel. It's what it is, right? And so that's what I love to do.
Wow. I also know that you have history, legends, and mythology within your comics as well.
Yes.
How do you strive for authenticity and how do you research all of that?
Oh, yeah. The research involved, I love these old Hawaiian books into, I think there's another one I love, is Rulers and Chiefs or something. it really, there's great stories in there, and I just wish, kids would learn more about it, but to get them to open that, it's a little bit more difficult. I think that's what makes comics more digestible. When I created the Monokama universe, my characters and stuff really deflect the culture, but also reflects, the history in Hawaii. It's all integrated. There's no getting away from it. It's a part of, their DNA. That's the mana of the islands, mana comics. It's everything. So there's ties to it with my characters of the past. And yes, I was focused mostly on the superhero genre when I first started, but then I realized, there are people coming to my tables and stuff when I would have events. Oh, do you have anything with Hawaiian legends or, history? I'm like, man, I don't, but I would love to, because in my head, I was like, man, there's some great stories they're just not being used, and what a great way to do it. So, thankfully, not just my characters reflect the culture and the history and the legends, but now I'm actually doing the history and the legends with books I did. And I think that's just really important.
Wow, so great. And
Yeah.
also, I know there's a lot of community response. How has the community response been for Kānaka ʻŌiwi and also local superheroes?
Oh man, it's been fantastic. It's been fantastic, and I see that because I think the way I consider, like, when you're doing topics like, talking about your island culture, heroes from Hawaii, it's my superheroes from Hawaii, or whatever it is. It's like having like an NFL team here, because you finally got someone to root for, yeah, and to get excited about. Now you're talking about the Hawaiian history, and you're talking about legends. Now you're getting kids, you're sparking that interest in these topics that maybe they wouldn't be able to digest or get it from a book.
So
But I'm giving them that, because I always consider like comics a gateway to reading. People didn't really consider it reading, but honestly, it's definitely has its place.
yeah.
And if I can get them interested in the topic to move on to learn, it's been great. I mean, I've got letters from what I like is getting letters from parents who who read the book, especially like ʻAumākua series, who read the book and they say, "Oh my gosh, we're cracking up." They're with their family. The dad's reading it. They says the dad's like Mighty Moke, and it's like having Mighty Moke read us the story, because you can see from banter and stuff, I don't shy away. So I can imagine that I'm bringing joy and happiness to this family, and they're getting together and they're reading. I mean, how special is that? And I didn't even consider that would be happening when I wrote that first book. No clue. I was like, I told you, it was like, okay, I'm done. Oh my God, childhood dream achieved, and not thinking that there's a ripple effect involved. You're getting kids, you're creating characters for kids that they can see themselves in. And that's what I wanted to see as a kid, and that's kind of why I did it. But now it's actually happening for somebody else. And if I can get them to want to learn about certain things, if I can get them to feel pride about their culture, island culture, Hawaiian history, whatever it is, and it's not even about just Hawaiian stuff, any culture, because me and you are raised on the playground with kids. You're playing with everybody. I got my Samoan friend, I got my Chinese friend, I got my Korean friend, Filipino. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's all of us, and if I can share things about that cultures too, either words or whatever, then I'm creating characters that kids can look up to.
Oh, I love that. And not only representation, but also, I know you have a lot of women superheroes. You have
Oh, yeah.
Pele, Sistah Shark,
Yes,
right?
yes. And I have to shift gears for that too. In terms of like finding the right voice for them. I like to make true mana wahine. Like I want to make powerful women characters, but also when like people they want that too. And then there is some buck if you try to make them a little bit younger, because you aren't always everyone's not always powerful right out the gate. You have a journey. Our hero has a journey where they make mistakes. They feel like, oh my gosh, they feel vulnerable or scared or unsure about things. And I remember Sistah Shark, I had challenges, a little bit pushback from some people. It's like, oh, your character seems a little weak, but yeah, I mean, weren't we all when we were growing up? Because we're still trying to figure things out, and that's how I made her character to be. Pele was a whole another thing too, though. I mean, you talking writing a voice of Pele? Oh, bro, I took that responsibility seriously, and I knew it could definitely get more pushback than even Sistah Shark did, but you know, because all I got is a quarter Kānaka, but that's enough to know that you approach these topics with reverence and respect, and that's Pele. But I wanted to show Pele in a way that, you know, because she's always depicted as like a boogeyman, like it's just like a scary tale. But I want to show that other side, that more side that, you know, she's a creator. She, you know, cares deeply about the island and the people. I wanted to show that side. So, you know, having these characters, you know, iconic women like that, and you know, and the challenges of trying to get that right voice for them. Oh man, it's difficult, but you just sometimes, if anyone wants to do that, you gotta just jump in and just hopefully it resonates with somebody. But they have to know your intention too. You're not there to make fun of something or make somebody feel less than. But there's a journey when you're younger, and you know, and when they're adult and prime, they're ready and powerful. You have to get there some way, right?
Yeah, that's so true. And I know that a lot of times writers have social commentary or observations. What do you think of that topic in terms of comics?
Like, yes, I like to go into things that, you know, that reflect what's happening. I kind of like steer clear of maybe like the what is the word? A lot of stuff that like divides people, like, you know, that's trendy right now, right? Trendy stuff, boom, 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 you know, stuff happening. But I also like to, you know, talk about, like, when we were talking about history and stuff like that. I think one of the most challenging things that I've written was talking about the overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom. I mean, that takes another level of respect because it's a sensitive topic. Now, how am I going to do it in comic books? That wasn't a balance, but I think I did it with that in mind and my intent pure to say, at least, the very least, I'm not going to go step by step of what occurred, but give you enough like of a dose of it to, like, for that person who has no idea that, you know, Hawaii was a kingdom at one point. They're like, what? What is this guy talking about? You mean there was, you know, like a king and a queen at one point? You know, but it sparks once again that interest to learn more, and maybe that person can learn more and have an understanding and respect for, you know, what happened with you know, with the ancestors, with our ancestors, and you know, that's what I want. I want to start that conversation.
I love how, you know, you're talking about learning, and I know you work with the Hawaii State Library
Oh
system,
my God.
and you know how to create your own superhero for like grades 6 to 12. How was that experience?
Oh gosh, I get excited about this question because yes, I do have like I go to library schools. I even went to a nursing home, believe it or not. So, you know, I've done as young as second grade. Within you know, I share my origin story about my journey, and then I start to share of how to create that superhero. And man, it's so fun to see the range of imagination from people. Like I was in Waimea at a second grade school, and this girl came up. She was so proud of her character after I gave the run of how to create. That's the whole thing that I do in my lesson. She comes up. I was like, anyone who comes up is brave already, right? So she has her paper. I said, well, okay, what's your character? She goes, my character's super name is, her name is Taco Girl. I'm like, Taco Girl, right on. And so in my head, I'm thinking, okay, does she mean like taco, like octopus or you know, squid? What does she mean? And she goes, no, 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 no. She's like, she shoots like tacos from her eyes. I'm like, brilliant. I love this. This character's great. You know, it's creative, fun, and the perfect companion if you get the midnight munchies. This is it. This girl is on it. Now, you know, now you got the opposite spectrum. Old Japanese lady at the nursing home that I went to. I gave my spill again, and she has her creative superhero worksheet, and she goes, my superhero is Neko. I'm like, oh, and then my head is thinking, you know, you're Japanese. Neko's cat. All right, cool. She talks about how she's, you know, she's like a vigilante, you know, agility, prowess, fighting ability, and then she said she throws shishi pellets at bad guys, and I'm like, wait, Nancy, what did you say? She said she throws shishi pellets at the bad guy. I'm thinking, you mean she throws cat pee at her bad guys? This is brilliant. But it then shows you again that everybody has like this, maybe this superhero that wants to come out, some creativeness inside imagination that they can bring out if given the opportunity, and from someone young, from someone old. And I think I just feel blessed when I get to go get invites and have opportunities to go and share, you know, about superheroes, about my love for comics, about monocomics in general, and to have reactions and people getting excited and coming up with their own stuff. It's truly one of the best things about what I do.
So great. And I know you have like a lot of great advice for students. And I know one common question that students ask is like, well, what do you do about writer's block? Because sometimes they get really scared, like, oh no, I'm blocked, you know. Well, what would you
And that's totally, it happens to anybody. You know, I said the hardest thing about creating is having a blank piece of paper in front of you. It's also like recognizing like when you know, you're writing a whole segment and then you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm trying a little bit too hard. This is a little bit too strenuous. You have to know to detach, and that's what I've done in the past. Detach, you know, exercise, listen to music, go to the beach, whatever it is. I remember in ʻAumākua #3, there was a scene where the ʻAumākua team were outside of like this portal at Kauai Church, and I had to think of something that comes out of this portal, and I wanted it to be good. And the things that I toyed with, it wasn't really hitting. I felt like, man, I was getting kind of frustrated, you know, about it. So I did the methods that were working, and I can remember just being sad, being like in the shower, like thinking about it, and boom, in my head, it just came. I had my eyes closed, opened it. Whole Night Marchers, perfect. That'd be a perfect addition right here. So it's not pushing it. It's finding, you know, that relaxed state in your brain, wherever that is. If it's exercise, beach, scenery, music to inspire you. For me, it was happened to be a soothing shower, and that idea will come, but you just can't force it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I mean, that's how it's going to serve me. It also helps to be in a happy state of mind. Yeah, you write best with like when you're feeling good. Granted, you do have stuff if you're feeling bad and stuff. There's other stuff that can come out, but it's the state of what you're writing.
Wow, that's so great. And I was wondering, how do you envision the future of monocomics? Like, are there new superheroes coming up?
Let me tell you, if I had like $1 billion, this would be like movies. This would be like it would be like animation. This would be like, you know, I obviously I got little toys here and there, but it'd be full on. You know, if I had that just resource and financial backing. Self-publishing is difficult in the sense that you're working within your means, so you can only come out with limited stuff. I mean, I wish I could see ʻAumākua as either a weekly or monthly type of book. I wish I could crack open all these Hawaiian, you know, history legend books and transform into like a comic book medium. I want that to happen. I mean, because I know it will only benefit, you know, keiki of all ages. It will benefit people to spark interest, to keep them excited about, you know, being proud about the islands and wanting to learn more and wanting to preserve it. It's like, now I realize, like I said, it was just for fun, but it's become a responsibility, and to hand that torch off to the next one.
Yeah, I love how you talk about responsibility, because I know, you know, there's like Kānaka ʻŌiwi representation in comics, but also in entertainment. Well, what do you think of that?
I think we're at the cusp of it still yet. We're still at that beginning. And here's the thing for writers out there. If you plan to write about island culture, islanders, you're actually setting the stage for someone in the future. You might not see it. It's like a ripple effect that will have an opportunity because of what you wrote. Who knows? Some guy might be running around as Aquaman, Gukkaman, Sistah Shark. I don't know. But isn't that fun to think about? Like, if you actually are creating something from now that could open opportunities. I mean, not just, you know, actors, voice talents, an artist, because of what you did in the past. So even if you're just not, even if it's not comics, you're talking about even writing a story, you know, a book about island characters. One thing that might be transformed into a movie. You don't know. But the more you promote and the more people will understand what the culture and the island, you know, life is when you do that, because you know your story, you know where you live, you have that advantage about anybody else. If someone's to write about here, you got the advantage because you're here and you can immerse yourself within, you know, a setting. If I want to get inspired about, when I'm talking about, something about, Iolani Palace, I can go there. You know what I mean? So you have access, and making that content will only lead to good things, honestly. Did I want to work for Marvel or DC at one point? Sure. I mean, if that's what you want, but I think I have more love and excitement for writing characters that I wanted to see growing up. Yeah.
You know, this is such good advice. And I know there's a lot of, viewers that we have who want to be a writer or even an illustrator.
Yeah.
Did you have any advice for them if they want to get into that?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Like I had mentioned, if it's just the comic world that you want to be in, decide because people just they want to maybe head to the big companies, Marvel, DC, and that's good. Write about, Avengers, write about Wolverine, Spider-Man, Deadpool, whatever you want to write, Superman, that's good. But know that if you go that way, you're probably not going to have a lot of freedom as a writer, creator, or illustrator. They're definitely more rigid. Okay, and that's the downside, but there's happiness to be found. But on the other side, if you do self-publication like I do, you have to think, okay, there's a price tag to that. There's for me, I have to raise money to make projects happen via Kickstarter and stuff. But in the end, I get to write, what I love to write about, or what I feel like I want to, a point I want to make. It's the freedom, really, as a self-published person. But it ain't easy, but I think it's well worth it.
Wow, so much good advice. Thank you so much, Chris Caravalho, for joining us in the reading room, for giving us so much information, and for just sharing your work with us.
Thank you for having me. I do appreciate you. Thank you so much, Ann.
Oh, and thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode of The Reading Room.